Keeping with the spring cleaning your investments theme, there's a big mistake investors can make with their accounts, and it has nothing to do with what you're investing in, but rather who is entitled to the money. I'm talking, of course, about making sure your beneficiaries are up to date. And joining me now on set, we've got Bob Powell, host of Yahoo Finance Decoding Retirement. Bob, great to see you. We got to know what, first and foremost, is a beneficiary? What defines a beneficiary, and why is making sure you have one or more so important?
Yeah, so a beneficiary is someone that you legally designate to receive your assets after you pass away, after you die. Pleasant subject.
But necessary.
But extremely necessary. So one of the things that these assets, some assets, not all, but your life insurance, your annuity, your IRA, your 401k, all get passed to a person you designate through a beneficiary designation.
Certainly. And so spring seems like a good time to check in on your beneficiaries, but when else do you need to consider making changes?
Well, I think anytime there's a significant life event, the birth of a child, a divorce, the death of a spouse, et cetera, it's always a good time to check in on your beneficiary designations. The last thing that you want to have happen, Brad, and it often does, is someone might get divorced. And then the next thing you know, that person dies, but they never change the beneficiary designation, so their ex-spouse gets $1 million in life insurance proceeds because someone forgot to change their beneficiary designation. So two things, why is it so important? The beneficiary designation allows you to direct who will get the assets after you die. So there's the primary beneficiary that you need to name, and also a contingent beneficiary. So maybe you might name your spouse as your primary, and then your children as your contingent beneficiaries. And those are really important. Now, the other thing about this is beneficiary designations. Let's say you don't have a beneficiary on your IRA or your life insurance policy.
Sure.
Then those assets get distributed according to state laws. And it may end up that these assets go to someone that you didn't want to have. So it's really important to check these things. And tax season is a good time to do that because oftentimes you're asked on your tax form to look at your IRA assets,
right.
Form 5498, I think it's called. And that's a good time to say, okay, well, I'm looking at my traditional IRA, I should also look at my beneficiary designations. The other thing that I should note too, Brad, we talked about contingent beneficiaries. You can name multiple beneficiaries and have the assets split up on a percentage basis or on an equal basis, et cetera. So don't think that it's just one person. It could be multiple people that are receiving your IRA, life insurance proceeds, et cetera.
Walk me through some of the documents that are critical to make sure you're up to date with your estate planning, and what are some examples?
All right, so the most common example is a will that designates who gets your assets after you pass away. But there are several others that are really important. The durable power for financial matters designates someone to handle your financial accounts if you become incapacitated. Then there's something called the durable powers for healthcare matters, or sometimes a healthcare proxy, and that designates who will make healthcare decisions for you if you become incapacitated. And then the last thing would be the advance directive, which sort of outlines what are your wishes for end-of-life care. Sometimes a living will is part of that document because that says what kind of drastic measures should be used or not used to keep you alive. And then there are two others. Sometimes estate planning attorneys will include them. One is something called the DNR, the Do Not Resuscitate, and the other is something called the Medical or Physician Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. Again, it outlines how far you want a doctor to go in order to keep you alive or not.
How young should you be when you're creating these documents?
I think the moment you reach the age of majority, you should have all these documents in place. So once you're 18, you need all these documents in place, including, we didn't mention, but a HIPAA release, which allows someone, a doctor, to talk to your loved ones that you've designated to hear medical information about you. And so the moment you turn 19, your parents aren't legally allowed to talk to the physician unless there's a HIPAA release in place.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. I got some work to do this weekend. Bob, thanks so much.
Thank you, Brad.
Appreciate it.